Morning or afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining the Stardust and Sparkles workshop. We have made it. The party bus has landed. We worked all week for some good vibes, some good posting, and some good Joan and Ginger laughs. They brought so much magic to this party bus, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my own dancing videos, as well as some of the same poses that Ginger had made and Joan had taken photos of. So I have loved everything about this week. It's going to definitely go down as a very memorable week. So our project today for this morning, the first one, is going to be the Stardust Necklace. This is going to use our flat mesh that I got to experiment with and made this really fuzzy, fun texture. So a few things that I wanted to cover real quick, because not all of us are able to join at this time. And so this is a video recording that we're going to then distribute to the folks that couldn't make the workshop. That way they can still make all of these fun projects with us. So I'm going to spend the first 20 to 30 minutes just instructing and trying to go over things as thoroughly as I can, and then open it up to you guys for the last 30 minutes of our class to just answer and ask questions and just some fun shenanigans. I've actually got a trivia question because I'm going to be giving away a set of Beads and Bubbles champagne glasses. These do have the logo on them and are now, I guess, sort of a vintage item since the business doesn't really exist anymore. But Beads and Bubbles will always go on, trust me. And secondly, just keep your mics muted for now. I'll ask that you guys can turn it on after we're done with the instruction portion of it, and then we'll just have some fun thereafter. You can use the chat in our Zoom call here to ask any questions. Joan is going to keep her mic on. She's sort of my camera person behind the scenes, and she's going to toggle between my face and my work board so that things can run a little bit more efficiently behind the scenes. And she's also going to ask any questions that you guys might have as the instructions happen, and then I can answer to those questions. But otherwise, I'm ready to get started if you guys are getting this Stardust and Sparkles off to a really strong start. So Joan, if you don't mind, would you toggle me back to my workspace, and I'm going to go over the tools and the materials for today. Thank you. So I have all the stuff at my table. We're going to make this design first. It's just going to be a nice, simplistic, but technique-driven design and a very long piece of jewelry, which I love doing, my favorite style, of course. So we're going to start with the centerpiece first. And for those of you who were able to tune into the Silkies group this morning, I'd ask that you guys have some clear nail polish with you. If you don't, not a problem. This is one of those things that I discovered later and was like, oh, shoot, I need to get this information out pretty quickly to the Silkies. And that is some of the glitter tends to fall off of the pendant as you're sort of working with it. It's just one of those things that's just unfortunate, and but it's fixable. So what I did was I ran out to my nearest CVS and I just grabbed some very glittery nail polish. I'm actually tempted to use this later on for today on my own nails just because it's so fun and glittery, but we'll talk about that later. For now, I have, let's go over the materials. Let's do this later. Okay, my beautiful, very glittery and soon to be nail polished coated Stardust Pendant. So I'm going to set that out to the side. I have all of my mesh, and I believe there's 2 feet here, or 3 feet. I think I gave you guys 3 feet. So we'll just be using 2.5 feet. We're going to use a little scrap of it later for a different project. So if I were you, I would go ahead and cut out 6 inches of this. There'll still be plenty of silver silk chain to, you know, drop over your head for this necklace, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut some of this off, save it for later for a different project. And I've got my 2.5 feet ready to go. And I've also got my, there's 2 different colors depending on the kit that you guys received. I had a bunch of this made, which was the gold chain with the dark blue wire knitted over it. And then I sadly ran out, so then I had to pick a different color. So some of you got this light blue color, which is still a great complement to the chains that are this blue scheme here, as well as our pendant. So I'm actually going to be using the light blue color just to show you the difference. And we'll need all of that. There'll still be some left over. Actually, I take that back. We're going to have some left over for the earrings class later today, but there's plenty of chain there to work with. And then I've just got my little blue bead here. This is also in your kits. And then this little, I guess, lavender color, light sapphire Rondelle bead. I've got that as well. That's just going to stack on top of each other. I've got my little bead cap. We're going to be shoving 3 strands of silver silk chain into that a little bit later. And then I've got the 3 terminators that came in the kit as well, and our little flat mesh crimps. So you're really getting a great variety of a lot of different silver silk products within just the one design. Really, the idea for this design is to get your hands on a lot of different things to be able to use it and just learn a very basic overview of how to use the materials. Oh, you know, the last thing that I'm missing is my little crystal pendant up here. So let me grab that from my bead stash down here.
Neely, while you're grabbing that, someone wants, Sally wants to know if you can use Mod Podge instead of clear nail polish.
Yes, yes, you can. The drying time for Mod Podge will be a little bit longer, is the only thing. Now, you don't have to put a very heavy coat of either. So if you put a thinner coat of either the nail polish or the Mod Podge, you just essentially wait less time for it to dry. So while we're here, though, this kind of sort of segues to the pendant itself. So while we're here, let's go ahead and get out our pendant and let's give it a fresh coat of nail polish and let that dry as I instruct. This will give you plenty of time because it'll be about 20 minutes or so by the time I'm done instructing, and it'll be dry and ready for your creativity by that point. So I'm just going to grab my pendant and some nail polish, and I'm just going to go ahead and coat it right on top of that surface. That was a good question, though. That was a very good question. This one has the extra sparkles in it, so I'm hoping that it'll be super shiny, but I don't know. It was also a very cheap nail polish. There's no telling. There we go. And you can use the same nail polish for some of the glitter beads that we'll use later today too, if you want to. And if you want to ensure that your glitter beads do stay glittery, you can give your glitter beads a nice coat of nail polish. So the drying time for this should be roughly 15 or so minutes. That's probably being generous. I just gave this a very thin coat to begin with, so it should be dry fairly quickly. And thanks to TV magic, I've already got one pendant that was coated earlier and it's ready to be wire wrapped. So this is that pendant and it is ready to go. So what we're going to do here, I had essentially made this little wire component earlier before the workshop details were out. And then I realized a better method of wire wrapping it. So I'm going to teach you that version. It'll look similar to this though. So I didn't actually mention the other materials that were not in the kit, which is, of course, the nail polish that you need. And then I just have the 20 gauge gold silver plated craft wire from Softflex company. They have incredibly soft craft wire and it's very forgiving on the fingers. And I love using it for all the things. I will say I'm definitely not bashing on artistic wire because it's a little bit harder, but that is just dependent on what you're trying to use it for. There's going to be situations where a harder wire is just going to be better than softer wire. I personally think if I'm making simple loops or a chain like a rosary chain or something that's going to be very chain driven and you're not wanting to make everything wire wrapped, the artistic wire is probably going to be better for that. In this case, I've just got a few smaller link chains, so it'll be okay. I just saw Stephanie's question. Will German style work? I couldn't find my craft wire. I think so. I'm actually not super familiar with German style wire, or German half hard wire, I believe it might be called. I've worked with a little bit at a craft store whenever I used to work long ages ago at a Michael's at that time, and I didn't know too much of a difference, at least from what I remember. But I would say give it a try, Steph, and see if it works, and then you can let us know if it does. All right, I cut roughly about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5.5 inches of my 20 gauge wire. There it is. And then I'm just going to grab a pair of chain nose pliers. You'll need this for virtually every project in this workshop, so have them handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly measure the width of my pendant according to how it needs, or where it needs to fall in my plier head here. So the width of that is going to be equal or a little bit bigger to what the pendant width is. This will help to just kind of slide it in comfortably, because what I'm going to do is now bend it in half there. And I have a virtually a long staple, if you will, or a pin. And I'm going to then just fit this pin right inside of my pendant. And now it's ready to be wire wrapped here at this top part. So to do this, Brianne is asking, sorry, how much wire? Apparently, Joan, I can, everything comes up on my phone. You can still read things to me if you want. The length of the wire is about 5.5 inches. I gave myself a very generous amount of wire. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to just give myself a couple millimeters. And Susan is asking what size. This is 20 gauge craft wire. I'm going to just grasp it at the tip of my pliers here, and it's going to just hit the surface, or I'm sorry, the end of my pendant there. So you can see that the pendant ends there and my chain nose pliers begin, and I've just got a couple of millimeters of extra chain there, or extra space on the wire, sorry. And so then I'll just bend it at a 90-degree angle. So what this does is it creates just a little bit of extra space for my link to move around comfortably. If you have it too tight up against your pendant, it is not going to lay correctly. It will want to shift to one side because this is a very angular pendant. Okay, once you've done that, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to flip this whole thing around, and I'm going to grasp both wires at the same time with my chain nose pliers. And now I've got basically the beginnings of a wire wrap piece here. So I'm going to actually just wrap this a couple times as such. Okay. And again, because the way that I've set this up, I've got just the perfect amount of movement there. Perfect. So once I've got a couple wraps established, I'm going to just trim off the wire. And I want to make sure that my wire wrapping doesn't end on the front side. I want to make sure that those two wraps look nice and clean on the top part here. Just like that. So I'm gonna just hold it here for a couple seconds. And I forget my camera is right here, so I guess I don't have to lean. I'm so used to my other tutorials where I have to lean off camera, but in this new setup that I have, I don't. Okay, and because this is going relatively fast, I could probably do this one more time for you guys. All right, so now I have all this extra wire here to do myself a little loopy loop. So I'm going to just trim the wire about 1/2 inch above where my wire wraps were. And I'm going to then grasp the tip with my round nose pliers, which is going to be my second tool that you'll need for everything today. And I'm just going to gently turn it around until I get this nice little P-shaped loop. Okay, I got a little bit of a gap there. if you're wanting to really be OCD about this, because I know some of us are OCD about gaps and things out there, and I can be for sure. I'm just going to trim this off a little bit at the head here. And I've purposely made myself a little space because what I can do is take it back into my round nose pliers and continue to roll it in. And I get a nice close loop there to my chain link there. So I could either leave it here or I could twist that link back. Not link, I guess the loop. I could twist the loop back as if I were making just a regular eye pin. But I kind of like this look because it's all like nice and even now, and I can attach whatever I want to it. And it looks nice and clean on the front side. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense. And if for those of us in the chat room right now, if you want me to do it again, I'm more than happy to at this stage. Just let me know. So I'll take a break on this. You guys let me know if you want me to demonstrate that one more time. And what we're going to do now is create the links here in the meantime. And I've got just enough wire to do all this all over again. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm just going to take out some wire. I'm not going to cut it off the spool just yet. I'm going to go ahead and string on my beads because I'm a conserver of wire. Everyone is saying, yes, please do again. I would be more than happy to do that again. I'm going to go ahead and make my links down here first and get those just out of the way. So because I like to conserve wire, I'm going to string both of these on. And I'm going to go ahead and just create some nice little loops here. You can do wire wrap loops if you want to, or if you create your loop small enough, as I did here, then you don't really have to worry too much about it breaking apart. The smaller the loop, the harder it is for the chain to come undone. I will say that. So in this case, I think the wire that I'm using and the loops that I'm making are going to be a pretty good combo. You can see that I just clipped it off a ½ inch there from my spool of wire, and I don't have to worry about wasting any of it. So I'm just going to work that around. If you guys are unfamiliar with using crafting wire and round nose pliers to make simple loops, let me know and I can explain it more in depth. So what this class is for some of us, it is remedial information, but for some of us out there, it might be a new concept altogether. And we definitely want to make sure that we cover all of the things for everyone that is tuning in today. Okay, I want to make sure also that my loops face the same direction. So I just use my pliers to twist it around and I should have this beautiful little link now, which looks wonderful. So here again, I'll just slide my bead up from my spool of wire. I'm going to grasp it on my chain nose pliers. They're at the very tip. Brianna says, I'm new to this, so showing how to do it would be great. Excellent, excellent. Absolutely, Brianna, your wish, my command. So I have my scrap of wire there that's still, again, on the spool. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers. Now, the further you go into your round nose pliers, the bigger the loop becomes. So for these types of chain, I like to stay toward the tip where it's probably predicted to be about a 2 millimeter to 3 millimeter size loop, as I repeated here. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So I'm going to stay in this first half of the pliers, and I'm just going to make sure that the surface of my wire, or the tip of my wire is lined up to the surface of my round nose pliers here, sorry. And so that there's not anything sticking out there at the top, because if you have a little bit sticking out, it's really going to warp your loop, and that's not what we're wanting. We are wanting a nice round loop, so just make sure that it's nice and smooth there at the top. So I'm just going to use my thumb. This is how I like to do it, and there's many different ways to do a successful loop, but I just like to use my thumb and to just give a little bit of pressure to have it form and curve around my round nose pliers. Yes, I must mention breaking the neck. Thank you, Emily. Now, once I've sort of curved it around, I got a little bit of my loop finished, but I haven't quite finished it yet. So what I do is I lift off, I reposition my pliers and my thumb, and I continue to fold that wire in. So now what I have is this Q or P shape, depending on which way you position it. And my loop is off to the side here. But I have successfully connected my loop tip here, my wire tip to the stem of my pin. There, once it starts, once it focuses there. So once I've done that, we had a Silky here mention breaking the neck. So what that means is that I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grasp the stem just where my, eye pin is connecting to the stem, and I'm just going to break that neck backward. So what this does is it sort of repositions the loop to become more centered rather than being a Q or a P shape. And if you have a little bit of a gap or need to fix anything, you can go back and just kind of work that right back in, and you should have a pretty good looking loop there. Okay, and I'm going to repeat the same thing once I scooch that bead down. And I think it'll be easier because I'll be off that spool of wire. And I'll grasp the tip of my plier to the end of my wire, and I'm going to just work it around. You can also just move a little bit at a time. It makes a lollipop of a pea. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Em. It definitely makes a lollipop. So here we go. That's my little pea shape there. So let's make it into a lollipop after breaking the neck. Oh, these are all crazy terms, I must say. So again, I'll grasp it and I'll just pull it into the opposite position, and it'll center the loop there into a lollipop. And then again, I just want my loops to position in the same way. So I'm just going to use 2 chain nose pliers to reposition those loops to be facing up on both, just like that. Okay, and once I've done that, to keep your loop the same beautiful shape, what you're going to do is take the end of that loop and you're just going to
Neely, I think I might have just, I muted you about a minute ago. I'm trying to find out what I did because I didn't think I was touching it.
unmute. I can unmute. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we missed almost a minute of it. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I will keep an eye on that too, just in case. Sorry, guys. I am now fully back in full audio, and I just connected my little loops there together into a chain. And I was just saying that I'm going to cut off my little link there, even though it was one of the best ones that I've ever made, but that is okay. I'm going to cut 5 inches of my 20 gauge wire, just like this. One thing I forgot to note earlier is if you have a worked piece of wire, do not be afraid to go ahead and use your nylon jaw pliers to straighten it out. I love these little guys, they're very handy. And especially with the soft wire, it does make it really nice to use those pliers. And it just straightens it out oh so beautifully. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, find the center of my wire, and I'm going to just note the width of my pendant, because essentially I want to create a pin that will comfortably fit into the center of my pendant. So I'm going to say maybe about that much into the plier, which is, that looks really good. If I go any more to the tip, it's going to be too narrow. So you really want to go probably about a quarter ways into your plier and just grasp it there in the middle as such. Now what you can do is just fold one side over and the other so that you have a nice long staple with two very good 90-degree angle bends. I will say one of them is less impressive than the other, so I can just fix that really quickly. Here we go. Perfect. So once I've done that, I can actually go ahead and insert it directly onto my pendant there. And the first part of this is pretty much finished. So if I turn it on my side, you'll see that I have my 2 pins sticking out there. And what I'm going to do is actually take and grasp with my chain nose pliers. Where the pendant ends is where I want to grasp it, and I just want to be a little bit into my plier there. This is probably about 2 millimeters in width in the plier, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 90-degree angle bend, just like that. Okay. So it should look like a large box shaped, rectangle shaped link at the moment. Now, once I've done that, I can actually turn this whole thing around because I am right-handed. And I realized what I also wanted to do was have my piece of wire over the longer part here. So we've got a friend, a Silky, asking, did we do this already before? Yes, we did. Some folks wanted me to repeat this process again. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it one more time. Okay, once I've done that, I can then grasp both pieces of wire, making sure that they are perpendicular and that they're 90-degree. And I'm going to just wrap this around a couple times. We'll do one more. Okay, so now I have the ability to move this along, and I've got my wire wrapped portion all ready to go. I will say I think I did this backwards actually, because this was supposed to face top front. So let me do that again real quick. Come on, guys. I gotta get my act together. Did it perfect the first time, and then the second time just didn't quite work out the way that I wanted. Oop, lost myself there for a second. I'm getting some random calls in between, so I apologize. Let me resituate here. Okay. All right, got my wire. I'm going to fold. Insert. And I want my wire wrapping to be front, so I'm going to grasp the bottom one and make sure that it folds over the stem. Okay, there we go. Once I've done that, grasp both, wrap twice. Perfect. So now you can see that it's facing the correct direction. Now you simply trim. Okay, just tuck in my end there. And now I've got all this extra wire that I can cut down and just do a nice little eye pin there. So I'm going to measure about a 1/2 inch up. And take my round nose pliers and just go ahead and curl it in. That's a little bit too much. You guys know that I like to have my loops precise, so I'm going to just trim that down a little bit. and then continue to roll it back in. And now at this point, I can kind of connect everything together once I've straightened it out. So that's how you do that. And this is what the link will look like. So let me get a still picture of this here. There we go. All right, so I can connect my loops that I made earlier to this link. And I think we're ready to make our tassel. Okay, so to do this, this is really, really easy, I'm happy to say, except for maybe the small terminators might be a bit challenging, but let's just take it one step at a time. All right, go ahead and grab your Pearlesque chain, and I'm just going to trim off the end here to make it nice and flush with the ball chain. Shake out those little wire fuzzies, of course. And if you need to pluck some, go right ahead and do that. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is, this really just depends on your taste in tassel. If you like a long tassel, then you can definitely cut this to a longer piece. And if you want just a nice little short, cute tassel, then you can absolutely do that as well. So I'm going to do a solid 2 inches on each of these, keeping in mind that the space inside of the bead cap and the terminator will take up a little bit of the space. So if you want to account for that, then you can cut maybe 2.5 inches, and that should put you to a solid maybe in 2.25 inches to 2 inches, just depending on where you cut it. But I'm going to go ahead and just make myself a nice little dainty tassel this time, and I'm just going to cut 2 inches of it. The ball chain is actually big enough if you want to count the beads inside and cut it to that. That's, to me, being a little too OCD. But you know what? I'm not going to OCD shame anybody today. It is all up to you guys. However your preference is, we just want to make sure that you have a design that you will love and wear time and time again. That is my goal for today. Okay, you'll notice that I am shaking out all of the little wire pieces as we're moving along here. It just makes this whole process a little bit easier. Okay, we'll cut that as well. There we go. And now I've got 3 really good looking pieces there to create a little tassel with. So I'm just going to grab my terminators. Sam, I didn't see that you're in. Nile, my dear,
Hi,
we should
Nile.
use the darker blue chain and save the lovely light blue for later. Maybe. Which one did you get?
So I
think
I have both in here because I saw on your original pendant there you used the darker blue chain.
Oh yeah. Well, if you've got both, you can use whatever you like, Sam.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So, okay. What I did was I grabbed one of my terminators and I grabbed my chain nose pliers, and I am just going to squeeze it apart by pushing on my plier handles there. This just opens it up a little bit more. This does have teeth on the inside of each of those terminators. And the job of the terminator is to cap off the end and grasp onto the ball chain with those little teeth inside. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all 3 of my terminators. We've got a friend here asking, did we get those in the kit? Yes, they should be in the kit. Absolutely. Whoops. They'll be in the little baggie of findings. Hopefully if that came through okay. This can be a little challenging, I will say, but I think depending on which ball chain which silver silk piece that you did get, they should both have smaller ball chain on the inside. So it'll be fairly easy to hopefully put this right in and crimp it. Okay, what I do is I just pinch the ends and roll it in my fingers there. And then I can press it into my Terminator, just like that. Do we need glue? Nope. That is a great question, and no glue necessary. Again, the little teeth inside of the Terminator should grasp onto the ball chain, but you really want to make sure, whoops, you want to make sure that you have maybe possibly the right tools, but also a good amount of force there to be able to do this. So I just have a pair of wide flat nose pliers. These have been dipped in tool magic, which is a substance that makes the tips of my pliers rubberized, for lack of a better term. And what it does is it protects any sort of findings from getting abrasions or marring or nicking into the metal. And in this case, it does that, but it also adds a grip to your finding so that whenever you do press everything flat, you should get a really good grip. So our Silky says, yes, I do remember you shared that and took your advice. It works great. Perfect. I see that your email, JC, is in there. Would you mind typing in your name just so I know who I'm talking to? I hate to call you by your email is the thing. Sounds so informal that way, or sounds so formal that way. Lorena, okay, yay. Glad you're here. All right, I'm gonna do this to all three of my little pieces here. Sam says, call me by your email. Nice, Sam. Got it. You better have all the jokes today. You and Joan. Did you see the videos that Joan's been posting?
They are the most fantastic thing I've ever seen in the world.
And the ginger side-by-side posing. I think she did it better than me, though.
Oh, that one I was cackling. That was fantastic.
Amazing. I want it printed out, and I think some Silky had mentioned turning it into a calendar, which I thought was a great idea for 2022. Okay, so I have all three of my pieces terminated, and I'm going to now just fill it into my end cap. So I am a creature of habit, and I like to use my E6000 for all the things. There are better glues out there, definitely. I just haven't experimented too much because I don't use a whole lot of glue. But for projects like this and the specific end cap, I go with the E6000, but feel free in the chat to name your favorite glue, and I will be happy to announce it. And the people that are listening to the recording might have some other options for glue out there that you guys would have recommended. So I'm just going to add a nice little dollop of glue inside of the cap here. And E6000 takes a while to dry, to cure. I would leave it overnight if I were you, and then wear your jewelry the next day. If you're in a rush to wear it tonight, which I guess you have several designs to choose from if you have plans for this evening. But if you're in a hurry to wear it tonight, then you can use, let's GS Hypo, duct tape, super glue, I'm guessing. Let's see. So far, that's the names that I got. Stick with the E6000, it works well for me. Sam, do you have a glue preference, or Joan?
Danielle told me to use Hypo Cement, so that's what I use.
Hypo what?
I got out
Hypo
my
Cement.
E6000 in Loctite super glue.
GS Hypo Cement.
Oh, Loctite. Yeah, I've got some Loctite too that I haven't used yet. But it was recommended, I think, by Leather Cord USA for leather products. So once I have my dollop of glue in there, you kind of just shove all three of the strands of silver silk chain in it, and then you just allow that to cure for a day, and you've got a sweet little tassel. that you can then attach to your pendant there, just like that. All right, so we're ready to make this little top crystal link, and then we're going to wrap up this piece by crimping our flat mesh. I think someone had mentioned about what they say about this flat mesh. Joan, you may have to scroll to find it, but it was a fun little comment of using more of it or something. I have a bunch of wire scraps, maybe I could use that. Okay. I'm just going to use my wire scraps that I made earlier because I love to recycle and use up all of my stuff, all of my jewelry making supplies, if I can. Oh, Trish said yes. I wanted for earrings. Oh, I do love this stuff. It was a happy accident on the machine. It just started ripping up that tencel, and I just kept it going. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then I sent it to a couple people. I was like, is this an item that people would want to use? And they liked it and said it was cool. So I was like, okay, well, let me include it in this workshop and see the general like consensus if I should make this as a future item or if I should not ever do it again. I recently saw a hint to put Vaseline on the threads of E6000 tube. It should slow the drying within the tube. I'm guessing it slows air leaking in. That's a great tip. Vaseline definitely is a great sealant for sort of the tip of the glue where it would come out. I think that's a great idea. Okay, just breaking the neck on that one. So I got myself a nice little eye pin going for me. And so now I'm going to go ahead and string on my crystal. There we go. And I've got plenty of wire left there to make a loop on the other end. So I'm going to just trim the wire a 1/2 inch above where the bead ends. Grab my round nose pliers, go ahead and insert it into my plier there, and then just turn it around to where I've got a nice little one-sided loop there, P or a Q, depending on which side of the table you're on. And I've got a little bit of a gap there, and I'm going to kill that gap by just trimming off a little bit of that loop. Whoops. I never really went over my cutters here because I like to use specifically my Lindstrom cutters for craft wire, beading thread on occasion, and almost every kind of wire except for memory wire. Although I have been using it for my memory wire lately, and I will say it still stayed pretty sharp. I don't know with the livelihood of it staying sharp for that long, but so far I've had really good luck with them. So, and Lindstrom's a very, well, they're a very expensive brand, but you do get what you pay for. And I've had these pliers for nearly 8 years and still cutting sharp to this day. Okay, I'm just gonna have my loops face the same direction again. I think I'm gonna need 2 pliers for that. There are memory wire cutters, absolutely. I think I just need to go shopping, and how dare I spend more money on beads, right? Let's see. Oh, Joan, I think it was Trish who I answered that question earlier about the flat mesh. Neela, you just jinxed yourself. Oh no. Lauren, this says I'd rather buy beads than eat. Oh, honey, I'd rather buy both because I love being a foodie. I guess I don't love it, but it's just part of who I am, a big foodie. I love food. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and use my flat mesh crimps, or a crimp rather. What I want to do is make sure that my flat mesh here is nice and parallel and even and not twisted up, right? Because I want it to lay nice and flat around my neck. So I'm going to just lay it out and make sure that it loops around nice and flat, just like this, that it's not twisted up. And then I'm just going to lay one directly on top of the other and just give it a good squish. This will help to kind of just get it prepped and ready for inserting it into my flat mesh crimp, which looks like this. This is perfect for using for flat mesh. I've also used it for capture chain, believe it or not, and a few other things. But it's got teeth on the outside there that just crimp together. So again, no glue is necessary. You simply just insert both cords in and kind of hold it to the best of your capability. Use your wide nose pliers dipped in Tool Magic. Again, that grip action is just perfect. And you're just gonna squish it down and get it all nice and secure. You'll give it just a slight tug to make sure that nothing is gonna come out. But otherwise, you've got the rope to your necklace design pretty much finished. And so you can, at this point, connect all the elements together that we made. So I'm going to start with the crystal. And you can connect that right on in. Now, because our loops face the same direction, we really need to pay attention. Whoops, I didn't close that enough. We really need to pay attention to how the crystal falls here, because I want to make sure that my logo side is up on the finding. And the loop, it looks like, is going to lay that direction. So I want my pendant to make sure that it faces that direction as well. So I'm going to just lift up, open up my loop by lifting that wire up, and then placing the pendant on correctly, and then folding that loop back down. So now when I lift this up, it should all face the same direction. Okay, and we've made our little bead components down there. And then once this is dry, I'm ready to attach it. I'm going to go ahead and attach it now and just leave it to dry. A little bit later, I can pick it back up and wear it as I please, or give it to someone that might enjoy the sparkles. Clearly, I enjoy the sparkles. There we go. That's really about all it takes to create this design. So it's a series of simple loops. If you've practiced, you should be hopefully getting more perfect at it, and just learning how to use these crimps and terminators with the silver silk is about the extent of this lesson, as well as making this really unique little link that you can use practically on any sort of pendant. I have, again, a little gap there between the pendant and where the link sort of happens, only because that'll allow this to move around freely. Okay, I will now invite you guys to turn on your mic if you want to, and ask a question or just tell me something funny.
We'll let Sam be our entertainment right now.
Oh, okay. Sam, will you serenade us with something? I'm
I
putting you on.
have a question, Nile.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Okay, great. I've never used the Pearlesque chain, and I was totally think I just missed how you prepped, if you prepped it any differently for the crimp.
Oh, for these small terminators?
No, oh, I did not mean Pearlesque. The flat mesh, sorry, that you just did.
Oh, okay. So the crimps work practically the same. Let me see if I can find an extra one. And I'd be happy to demonstrate that again. Ah, I have an extra one here. Okay, so these crimps work practically the same way as your, as really any of the other silver silk crimps. It's just that the teeth are positioned on the outside. Whoops, I got a little crimp in there. Little soft flex crimp. So make sure that the crimp is free of any other crimps. But anyway, once the thing with these is it should be wide enough so that you don't have to separate it with your pliers. It should be wide enough to insert your flat mesh into. And it should sit just nice and evenly on the flat mesh as such. Okay. In this case, because we're using
flat
two
mesh,
strand.
Did you squeeze your flat mesh to get it to the same width as the crimp?
I didn't have to on this, no.
Okay.
But it does help if you're using multiple pieces of flat mesh to press on it and just squeeze it a little bit.
Okay.
We'll actually cover this in a future, a future class here happening soon, or happening later today, where we use the same technique on our donut. So you'll get a little extra practice in.
Oh, awesome.
Got a little fuzzy sticking out there.
Nile,
Yes.
this is Stephanie. I don't
Hi,
know-
Stephanie.
Hi. I don't like my necklaces real long, so if I cut the flat mesh, will I still be able to put it over my head? Because you said like 2.5 inches, right?
Yeah, 2.5 feet. I would measure before you cut it. Just see if you can take like a shorter piece, maybe 2 feet, and just kind of hold it in place, hold the two ends together, and see if you can put it around your neck, because it really just depends on the size of your head.
Yeah, I'm clumsy and I put my head down, and if I have something long on, it tends to get caught. I made a mala necklace and I wore it and like to choke myself.
Yeah, you can definitely
soft,
make it smaller if you're able to. So I will say, Joan, if you want to pan back over to my head, I can show you.
Across the room looking for a measuring tape, sorry.
Oh. All good.
Okay. Got it.
There we go. I will say, so this is the full 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
And here it is, you know, come on me. So that is a fairly long piece. What you can do, and some other ideas outside of that, is if you cut it shorter, let's just say you cut 2 feet, which would make it this big, right? So then this would still, it'd be a little bit of a fit for me, but that would bring it to here, and I'm still able to comfortably put it around my head at least. So it just is a matter of measuring
Okay.
to see if it's going to work. Now, the other thing that you could do is, instead of doing just the one crimp, you could put a crimp on both ends, and you could put a clasp in the middle of your design.
Okay.
So that you can unhook this. If you wanted to make it really short, you can unhook it and hook it in the front part of your design.
I'll figure it out before I finish that part. Okay, thanks.
Well, hopefully you can always go back and edit any of the designs later on too. You might need a few more findings, but otherwise they're totally customizable.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what I have.
Perfect.
Ooh.
Still connecting my.
Say
What are
what?
you doing tonight, Elaine?
What am
are
I
you
doing
doing?
tonight?
Yeah.
Let's see.
You go
I've got
out
a
on
couple
your-
friends coming over, and
Oh,
we're just gonna cook at home and drink some
cool.
champagne, and that's about it. I think that's what I did last year too. It was very low key and just like, and especially just I don't know, I'm a little worried about the different things that are out there right now, the Omicron and whatnot. So for me, I'm okay with like 2 or 3 people, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. For me, it's like that every year. I
Oh
stay
wow,
home.
yeah.
Even without COVID, I stay home.
I you know what, I feel like as the years progress, I'm getting to the same point. I don't mind just a small party of 2 or 3.
Yeah, I hear ya. So what did you think about the video that's going viral about you? The cute one. The cute video.
Oh, the me dancing videos. Oh gosh. I need to figure out a way to save all those videos, because I'm gonna look back on them and just think how silly and fun and how happy they made me. And everything that we're doing in the group. You know, I will say, last year, I think it was Joan and Ginger put together a little booklet.
Yeah.
I think it's actually in my bedroom, and it was sort of a compilation. Was it last year or was it the year before, Joan?
Last year.
It was last year. Boy, time does fly fast. And it was sort of a compilation of the different activities that were going on in the Silkies group, pictures that people posted, the silly things. So I think I'm gonna do something like that this year for me and just to have a record of it. It's way too fun to not remember.
Hi,
I'll get
Joan.
you
She's
cop-
on there. The Ginger and Joan are, or just Joan? Are they on there right now?
Joan is Ginger on here?
Taking a nap.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi. But
Happy
yeah,
New Year.
I'll get those videos for you, Neela. I can record them and save them for you.
Fantastic. I think you can, I'm gonna remove my spotlight because I want to see everybody. Let's see, I'm gonna go to gallery view.
This is
Oh,
cool.
and
This is-
I can see everybody now.
yeah.
Oh, wait, we gotta do some trivia as you guys are creating. So, okay, it's sort of an easy-ish question, but you know what? I'm gonna give away, and you guys might have this already, but you can pick your prize. Let's do this. You can pick your prize, either a copy of my second book, which features designs with wire and fiber, or you can pick a set of Beads and Bubbles glasses. So 2 different prizes, 1 question, and you must use your chat to answer. Okay, how many designs were featured in my book kit booklet? It's a question. Okay, I already see the winner. At least I think. Not actually, I don't even remember. I have to go back and check. So give me a second. You guys pour in your answers. I'm gonna go look. Okay, so we're talking about this book here. And I must now see. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10.
That's nice.
Wow.
So let's see. Cheryl, you were the first to answer like 3 seconds before I even asked it. So Cheryl, pick, what would you like your prize to be? Ooh, the book, please. Okay, you got it. And because I just love giving stuff away, I'm gonna give the second winner, which happened to be, let's see, it was Peggy. Peggy, you are going to receive 2 glasses.
Oh, nice.
And someone has to write all this stuff down because there's a big chance that I'll forget. Actually, I'm going to type it right here. Cheryl. I need more trivia questions. I think for the next class, I'm going to really.
Uh-oh.
Wait, do you only have 1 trivia question?
Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to go back.
I was getting ready for this trivia.
I wasn't either.
It's really just an opportunity for me to give away stuff. And you know what? I will say this. The people who are winning now can't win on the next one. So that way we kind of make it a little bit more fair. And the questions progressively get harder. So make sure you know everything about everything. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make it that hard. Okay, Peggy, hi, H-E-I-M.
Do we log out after each session, Neela?
I'm sorry?
Do we have to log out after each session?
Yeah, I will. I'll end the meeting. I'm going to actually stop recording now and let's do this.